Hello, everyone. Welcome to Breathwork and Inner Core. I'm super excited. I'm so happy that some of you registered. It's so nice to, have people come live. It just makes it so interactive and fun. Hi, Debbie. I know you're here right now. You're on the chat with me. I saw you in Ottawa for physio. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember you. Amazing. I guess, yeah, you're in Southern Ontario now. I guess you moved a while ago, right? Just remind me when you moved. Was it pre-COVID? Was it pre-COVID, Debbie?
It was around then.
Okay. It's so nice to see you again. It's always
Me
nice to
too.
see a familiar face. We are
Thank
getting
you.
started. Hi, Sammy. Sammy is a friend of mine. She's all the way in BC, so she's probably just having breakfast. We've got a Heather that's jumping on. Guys, I know that it is being recorded, so I will preface that. But it's also nice to see your faces a little bit. If when we're doing the actual practice and breath, you want to turn off your camera, that's totally fine. But if you want to just open up your camera and say hi or type hi in the chat, for some of you who've ever been on Zoom meetings or lectured, it is like a black hole when you just see black. So, hi, Sammy. Oh, you look so spiffy. I like the puffs. Amazing. Hi, Heather. I think this is my first time seeing you, Heather. So welcome. I think there are a few people that might come trickling on a little late or they need the replay, but I just want to remind you guys that it is being recorded. So if you need to, jump off, you don't want to show your face, I totally get it. You can type in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from and maybe just tell me what you may be struggling with. If you're not struggling with anything, tell me what your health goals are. Maybe you're looking to run a race, you want to climb, hike a mountain sometime. Do you have something in mind? And if you don't, you can also write, oh, I'm just here for like breathwork info. Just let me know because it's always nice to know what the interests are, and it can either drive the next workshop or just help me tailor this workshop because we've got 2 days together. We've got today till 1 and tomorrow same time, about 45 minutes as well. So while you guys are like brainstorming that, go ahead and type your goals, struggles, whatever it is in the chat. I'm just really excited that you're here. And if you signed up for the breath and core workshop, I think you are looking for some guidance, right? You're probably looking for true healing, true performance growth, and you know that your health isn't going to change overnight. There's no magic quick fix, there's no magic pill. But when you're interested in mind-body connection, and the reason why we're doing breath and core is because we need to solidify our foundation first, which I'll talk about today, you're in the right spot. Excuse me. And the reason why you're in the right spot is because this is how I work with my clients. We always, there's no like big overnight promises. Debbie says perimenopause issues, keeping a strong, healthy body through aging. Yeah, this is my passion. I am myself in my early 40s now and noticed like changes in my body, maybe after 37, but not really sure. And then really noticing after 40. And just with my profession as a physiotherapist, and I always love learning and growing myself. So did my yoga teacher training when my kids were young, so in my 30s. And then even just evolving my yoga practice, evolving my physiotherapy practice. It's really not just about physical pain, treating the physical body. It really is a holistic approach that really is sustainable and helps people actually heal and actually age in a way that feels ageless, right? Like we can't help that time, that ticking clock, if you will, but there's so much we can do that isn't just a throwaway. It's not a rite of passage to turn 40 and feel stiff and sore and wake up feeling like we're 80. Like this is something I hear a lot. Is this just normal? But no, it doesn't have to be our normal. It's common, but it doesn't have to be our normal. Or people say things like, oh, my grandma and my mom both had arthritis, so I'm doomed for arthritis too. That's actually not true anymore. There's so much literature about how we can prevent or delay some of those genetics that might be, in our systems already, but we can definitely do things with our lifestyle choices, like supporting our breath and core and moving our bodies mindfully to stave off some of these things. Oh, I just got a message that someone is having trouble logging on. That's too bad. I'll have to send her the replay. Oh, there she is. Heather says, I'm a runner, but after my last marathon in May, oh, congratulations. I've had chronic pain and fatigue. Timmy, is it Timmy? I didn't know
Yes.
if that was just the Instagram handle or your name is Timmy.
Nope, on my birth certificate and everything.
Cool. Okay. It's
Sorry,
very
I was having major computer issues.
That's
Like,
okay. Welcome. Feel free. I'm just going to mute you, but you can feel free to jump on anytime and type in the chat. We're just talking about in our chat maybe why we came. If you have a goal that you're working towards, I know you're a big runner, or if you're struggling with something, or you're just here for info. So just let us know. So Heather says she's hoping to overcome this run again. Yes, Heather, we're gonna do this. You will run again. I'm sure of it. Chronic pain and fatigue. Okay. I would love to like dig into that more. Maybe we can chat together after the workshop sometime, but interested why that was the case after your May marathon. Okay. We probably have some detective work to do. And Samantha says, focus on a strong core. I compete as a power lifter, and core is key to be able to support the strong heavy lifts. Yes. Be mindful, intentional, understanding the core and breathing. I love it. I love that. That's like it's preventative, right? You don't want to hurt yourself doing that strong lifting. And B, that's just so smart. Anyways, so great that you're all here with like different reasons, but all similar to me. We're just looking for yours. If you are willing to share, you can type it in. There's a chat box at the bottom. And yeah, so I'm just super excited and not letting like back to that whole aging thing, right? We're all different ages here, but I think we are all kind of like maybe 40 plus. I'm not sure about Timmy actually, but yeah, okay. So this is the thing. We don't need it to be a rite of passage, right? We can still do all the things that are fun in life. It does mean though, we're not like we're in our 20s, right? We can't just go and run a marathon like I did in my 20s and then hurt for 4 days and then be fine. Like the body's not as forgiving at this stage of life, but that's actually okay. I think it makes us smarter, doesn't it? You guys are like, no, it sucks. No, it does. It makes us smarter. It makes us more intentional, more mindful. And if you don't know what that means, that's what we're going to do today together. We're going to start at the foundation. I want to learn more, says to me, if I'm a runner or I'm a runner and I want to get stronger and stay healthy. Yes, I'm a runner too. And you know what? With all my background, like my experience and knowledge, and like I treat people, I still got hurt like 2 years, just shy of 2 years ago while training for a marathon. I did not listen to my own body enough. I just sort of jumped on the marathon bandwagon with a friend and yeah, really suffered a pretty bad hip injury. It took me 7 months to get back to running. I learned so much. So I'm here to share it with you. Okay, so think of your body as a house. And if we build a house, we really need a strong foundation. Would you agree? Okay, because it doesn't matter how strong the walls are. We could do all these bicep curls, all these crunches, all these back bends. If the foundation is not supporting us, what's going to happen to the house? Just crumble. Yeah, exactly. Right. So I see this a lot in my practice. I hear about it a lot with especially women who have had children, even if you're like 10, 20 years postpartum, if you never did rehab post baby, even if you didn't have babies and you didn't learn about this, you just don't really know because we don't really learn about this in school. We have layers to our core, and even people, because I know Sammy has a kinesiology background, people with anatomy backgrounds, people who are physiotherapists, like I've got a few physiotherapists in my practice right now that are coming to see me. We kind of lose connection to our deep foundation. Just for fun, let me know in the chat, what muscles do you think are your deep foundational muscles? And breath work and core will give you a clue, right? So I named the workshop breath work and core because I used to do it separately. I used to do a breath workshop and then a core workshop, but they kind of go 2 and 2 together. They have to go together. So tell me what you think, and there's no wrong answer, right? This is just interactive and fun. I want you guys it's better when we learn interacting. So let me know what you think is your foundation. Where is your foundation in your body, in your house? Where do you think it is? Abdominal muscles. Okay. Can we be more specific? Everything begins from core all the way. Psoas. Okay. This is so interesting. Sammy, I'm putting you on the spot. Abdominal muscles, back, glutes. Okay. So this is really interesting because you all said something that, yes, it's near the core, around the core. Now let's get foundational core. All of those are correct, but that core that you're talking about actually is not your foundation. What's the foundation of your core? So abdominal muscles, you're probably picturing that 6-pack, right? Abdominal muscles, glutes, back. You're picturing the back muscles. You know, if you saw an anatomy picture, there's like rows and lats. You're probably picturing those. Glutes are those big pelvic bone. Well, the bone is not a muscle, but pelvic is getting closer. Okay, so let's picture the pelvic bone. You're all sitting. Picture your pelvic bone right now. Is the bowl, it looks like a bowl, right? Agreed? Is the bowl empty, or is there something at the bottom of your pelvic bone? What do you think? Got 2 thumbs up. I have a few blank stares. It's not empty, right? So our pelvic bone is lined with muscles that kind of look like, let's just for short call it 2 hammocks. One in the front, hold your pee. One in the back, hold your bowel movements. Okay? So that pelvic floor muscle, maybe you've heard of pelvic floor muscles. That's part of your inner core. Okay, so outer core is things like abdominals, glutes, back muscles, psoas. I saw psoas. That's actually not an inner core muscle. Psoas is it's near your core, absolutely. It's a hip flexor. But at the bottom of your pelvic bone is your pelvic floor. And just for short, there's layers, but we won't go into it. Just front and back is what we're going to learn because that's what we can connect to. So just picture it right now. Like, just close your eyes, maybe even. What's happening in your back sling, your back hammock? Are you squeezing it shut? Like, are you not letting anything out? Or are you relaxed right now? Like, I'm assuming if you're not in the bathroom right now, you don't have to go number 2. So that back muscle should be pretty relaxed. Like this is what I tell my clients, if you had a coffee bean and it was up your bum, you're so relaxed that bloop, the coffee bean may roll out right now. I know it sounds really weird, and again, you can watch the replay and like really visualize it because I know all of you are like, what is this girl talking about right now? But there is muscles back there, okay? Now let's talk about the front. That's the hold your and pee section, right? I like to tell my clients, if you picture your vagina, okay, is a flower. If you're relaxed, the flower is blooming. Or it feels like the petals are touching your seat, like your chair right now. If you're opposite and you're squeezed shut and you're holding your pee, you're terrified of peeing your pants, it's going to feel like sucked up and tight, right? So can you kind of connect? And if you can't connect to it, that's okay. That's going to be your homework. Can you kind of let it go? And this isn't the only foundation. I'm just talking about one piece of your foundation, and that's your pelvic floor. Okay. How does that feel to you guys? Or do you have any questions? Or maybe you just need to digest it and process it a little bit. Because if these are muscles you haven't been aware of that you had, it does take time for your brain to make those neurosynapses to connect. So don't give up if you're like, I don't know, I can't feel it. I don't have those muscles. It's not true. They're there. You just need to connect. We need that mind body connection, and that can take time. A long time ago, I was told that I will always, or not always, I will develop bunions and osteoarthritis in my big toe joint as I age. I was told this in my 20s. And at the time in my 20s, I was terrified about aging. Like, it was actually a fear of mine because I just didn't like the idea of not being able to do things that I want with my body. And then I found yoga in my 30s, right? And then yoga has really taught me to connect to a muscle the furthest from my body, my big toe. And I now can spread my big toe away from the second toe. And I do have a mild bump, but it hasn't changed like in 10 years. And I really believe it's because I'm intentionally, every time I work out or I do yoga with bare feet, I like connect to that muscle all the way at my big toes, and I open my toe away, and I don't allow that joint to keep collapsing. So that's like the classic like big toe bunion thing. If any of you have that or pain in your big toe joint, you can work on that too. But it didn't happen overnight. Like, I really had to work on it. And sometimes nothing would move, and I would just have to go and like move my big toe with my hand, and then like really visualize, picture it. And then one day I could spread my toes. I can't remember how long it took me, but it wasn't overnight. But same thing with your inner core. If you've never thought about your hammocks, front and back, if your tendency is to be really tight and hold everything, I've had clients who, they're like massage therapists, or they work in the public and they're terrified of peeing their pants or terrified of passing gas. They just hold all the time, but they don't realize that they're holding all the time, and it's really hard to connect and let go. So whichever way you are, whether it's too tight, too loose, or maybe you just can't even find it, I promise if you visualize it and keep practicing, it'll come. Okay, mind-body connection takes time, not an overnight thing. Okay, let's move on to another piece of your inner core, right? We have three more. Any guesses? One is really tricky. The other two you might know about. Oh, someone's entering. And again, don't worry if you get it wrong, right? It's okay. You'll probably remember more if you get it wrong, because then you'll hear the right answer and you'll be like, oh yeah. And I'll just give you guys a moment while I welcome this next person. Hi, Evelyn. We're just talking about our foundational muscles, the inner core. So you kind of missed the beginning. So I invite you to watch the replay later so that it's not too confusing for you. So yeah, let me know if you have a guess. So we talked about our foundation at the bottom. We covered the bottom. Maybe let's talk about what's at the top. What do you think the top muscle is? Has to do with breath. And it's a muscle, so it's not your lungs. Someone is typing. Diaphragm! Yes. Okay, awesome. So diaphragm is not something you put in there for protection. Well, it is. But in this case, we're talking about your muscle, the diaphragm. So I want you to visualize your rib cage. It's 360, right? It's not just the front, it's all the way around. Okay. Your diaphragm is also 360, and it's like expansive, and it covers, it's under your rib cage, sort of like a parachute. Okay. And when you think of your diaphragm, like here, that's the top of your inner core. It actually is the mirror to that pelvic floor we just talked about. So when air, let's just talk about this for a second. When you breathe in, what's going to happen to the diaphragm? It's going to expand, but does it expand this way on the inhale, or does it expand this way? Think of where your lungs are. So we have right and left lungs that are inside our rib cage, right? They're protected by the rib cage. When I take that nice deep breath in, when you take that nice deep breath in, what is happening to your diaphragm? Just like visualize, like even physics wise, what should be happening to your diaphragm when you take an inhale? Should it be more like a parachute up, or should it be kind of coming down like a trampoline? As you inhale, coming down, right? Because it's creating space. As your lungs fill up with air, like the air has to go somewhere, and then the diaphragm descends. That's an inhale. So then if the diaphragm's descending, what's happening inside? We have tummy, your digestive tract, lots of organs. What do you think is happening when the diaphragm does that inside you? Just tell me. It's okay if you're wrong. You can type it too. It's more fun if you guys give me some answers. It's okay if you're wrong, guys. It's like school again. Put up your hand. What do you think happened? Our stabilizer muscles, I love this. I love this. Everything gets squished. Our stabilizers muscles activated. On the inhale, they're not actually. So if we are in resting position, right? Right now we are all sitting and resting. We are not lifting anything heavy. When we inhale and that diaphragm presses down, the abdominal organs, right? Your liver, your blah, 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 all those things, they actually descend a little bit. Not a huge amount, but a little bit, right? Your intestines are quite expensive. Everything drops a tiny bit if you're relaxed, which is why tomorrow is going to be really important, but let's just go through the anatomy today, okay? So as you inhale, actually, when we inhale, stabilizers should not be activated. So I like that that came up. This is why I like when you guys answer, because it tells me, it reminds me, because I live and breathe and talk this stuff, right? So it feels so second nature to me, but it reminds me that it's not intuitive, right? A lot of people think inhale is hold and squeeze, exhale is relax, right? I hear this a lot. It's actually the opposite. So when we inhale, because the diaphragm's coming down, your abdominal organs go down a little bit. What's going to happen to the pelvic floor on the inhale if it's mirroring the diaphragm? It also goes down. Yeah. So naturally, like if you looked at children, like before they develop some bad habits, right? When they quiet breathe, and you're like imaging their tummy area. My friend actually did this on my oldest. She's 12 now, but at the time I lived in North Bay, and my friend, who actually Sammy knows, Nicole, she came and did some research at Nipissing University, and she used my my daughter was like 1.5 at the time, and she just ultrasounded her tummy to check, because she does pelvic floor research for women's health. And it was so cool to see that as like a baby who doesn't have any of these like bad habits that we create as we get older, right? It was natural that when she inhaled, her diaphragm did this beautiful expansion, like descending, her rib cage expanded, and then in her pelvic floor, it just like sat, like someone sat in a hammock. So when we inhale, it feels like, or you work on it if you don't feel it, right? The flower blooming and letting that bean drop. It's not a forceful push. We're not pushing anything out, right? We're not trying to push anything out. It's just relaxed. So then it just kind of feels like on that inhale, it can feel like a really full inhale. Let's try it together right now. So I invite you to close your eyes, put one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, relax your shoulders. And when I say relax your shoulders, maybe you visualize your collarbones, and your collarbones are growing wider side to side, okay? And on your inhale, don't worry about your exhale right now. So when you need to exhale, obviously exhale, but I want you to be aware of your inhale. And when you inhale, feel your rib cage expand. I know in a lot of fitness classes and yoga, they talk about belly expansion. Let's focus more today on the rib cage opening, because I find in my practice and when I work with people, there's not a lot of rib cage movement. And I know it's because of our sitting culture with, devices and computers. It's hard to sit nice and tall all the time. So then we end up with kind of this slouchy posture, which makes our ribs really stiff, and our thoracic, our mid back gets really stiff. So right now, try to find a nice neutral spine. And I want you to focus your inhale on rib cage expansion, which means the diaphragm has room to press down and open. And can you feel that breath all the way down to your pelvic floor? It feels like a balloon is just filling up with air inside your body, inside your foundation. And then if you can exhale and stay soft, that's great. And I want to talk about what Timmy said, which is a really cool thing that she said, which is everything gets squished. Yeah, everything does get squished if you're not letting go, right? So a lot of women I see are terrified of peeing their pants or passing gas or something. A lot of it is also like IBS, right? Like there's this fear of, having an accident kind of thing. But because we're always holding, if I was to hold my bicep all day long, this is going to get really sore and tight, and I cannot open my arm to functionally use my arm, right? I can't open my arm to pick up my grocery bag, for example. Same thing in there. Like if you don't allow that to most of the time be in a resting state, everything will get squished. So then when you're breathing, you can't really quite breathe deeply because your pelvic floor is up, which means your organs are like your digestive tract, which should have sort of like some motility and mobility, is like seized. And then it's against your stomach and all the other organs in there. And then your diaphragm is like trying to inhale, but it can't, right? Like your diaphragm is like blocked. And then the rib cages get stiff. And then where do you then breathe? Accessory muscles. So if you were to watch a sprinter, right, they just ran a 100-meter dash. Yeah, they're going to use this to breathe. They look like they're apical breathing. This is your apical area. But a normal person working at a desk, walking around the grocery store, we should not be apical breathing, but we might be. I'm exaggerating. You probably don't look like that. But if you're someone who feels tension in your shoulders and you feel like tight in the chest, it's probably because you're not able to get that full functional breath. Is this making sense? Do you guys, does it make sense? Yeah. Okay, so really important to kind of connect with your pelvic floor on your inhale. Let's do it one more time together. Because it's one thing to know, and it's one thing to actually do it, one thing to actually practice, right? So let's practice together. If you're not getting it right now, it's okay. But if you notice, if you can feel that awareness, you're like, oh yeah, like I'm really tight back there. Can you kind of give yourself a bit of permission maybe to like surrender? Let gravity take over. Even if it's just your inhale, if your exhale you squeeze up, that's okay. Let your inhale surrender your inhale. 2 more breaths. Okay, good. Now you might be wondering, okay, we talked about the top, the bottom. There was 2 more in our inner core, our foundational core, right? So if you came a little late, we're discussing the core. This is actually the inner core, the deepest muscle in our body. It's our foundation. Your body is a house. We need a solid connection to our foundation. And in the body, we don't want to just build the strength. We need connection first, make sure it's functional, then we strengthen. Okay. We can't do any strengthening if it's stuck like this. So that's why we're like really breaking it down. Can't give you a bunch of crunches to do if we're not connected to the inside foundation. And then the inside foundation, we have to make sure it has range of motion before we even do the other things. Does that make sense? If someone came in for physio with an arm stuck like this, I would not give them bicep curls. I would be a very bad physio, right? So same thing with your core. I can't tell you to get strengthen your core if we don't know that it has that full range. Okay, so what is another piece of the core? This is a clue. And it's not a very known one, so it's okay if you guys don't know. But it's like around your neck, okay? It's actually your fourth layer of abs. Okay, so if you have, like, picture your six pack, you peel it away. You've got external obliques, internal obliques, two sets of side abs. Now we're at the fourth layer, right? That fourth layer is called your transversus abdominis. Otherwise, I just call it the corset because it literally looks like a corset. It goes from the bottom rib to your top hip, and it wraps around you. And it inserts on multifidi. Now, if you picture your back, let me get my model here. If you picture your back, it's one bone on top of the next one. This is just like a model of 3, but you've got 24 of them. And this is like stripped away, right? Like this is just the bone. There's like layers and layers and layers of muscles. So this is the back side of your body. These are the little bony things that you can touch on your own back. From left to right, one wing to the next one up, same on the other side. There's these little stabilizer muscles called multifidi. From tailbone to the base of your head. Almost like a skinny Christmas tree. Can you picture it? And those are your postural muscles. So those are the muscles that should be keeping us in like a nice posture most of the day. What happens is that corset that we just talked about, that fourth layer of abs, it inserts onto multifidi. What does that mean? It means that the multifidi only work really well if the corset is working really well. Because they work synergistically, right? Like they work in harmony. The corset is part of our inner core that we just talked about, which needs what? Functional breath. Do you see how it's all connected? It's actually so cool. So if you have full functional breath and that expansion in your rib cage, and your organs are like free inside, not knotted up and squished and tight, and your corset has this movement, right? Inhale, exhale, and it's attached to your multifidi, you can have nice posture without like being like this. Like without firing what? The outer stuff. Like without firing your glutes, firing your back muscles, your lats, your quadratus lumborum even. Like it's a QL. Maybe you've heard of QL. It's a deep back muscle. That's not even part of your inner core. Like we've stripped literally everything away to the deepest core we can get to. That's muscular. Obviously, the deeper stuff is your organs. But protecting your organs is this corset, the multifidi, diaphragm, and pelvic floor. So this capsule inside you is very powerful. And it's so cool because we can actually work it with just our breath. Like you don't have to have equipment. You don't have to even have a yoga mat. You can do it lying in your bed. You can do it like waiting at a traffic light. I'm doing it right now. It's pretty cool, right? And how does it actually help us, right? How does it actually help us? Well, we talked about how if we don't have full functional breath, we get stuck in our outer muscles. What happens when we get stuck in tension and tightness in our outer muscles? It constricts blood flow. It tells our brain subtly we're in a bit of threat, right? Because like that's an animal sort of like primal response is tension, fight, flight, or freeze. I'm sure you guys have heard this with all the talk about mindfulness and nervous system stuff, right? We need to regulate our nervous systems. The best way to regulate it is through mindful breathing. Because if we're always stuck, even if it's low-grade stress, even if it's low-grade stress not caused by like work stress or outside stress, if it's actually our breath giving us low-grade stress, like, right, if you're holding that pelvic floor, like we talked about, just a little bit because I'm scared of peeing my pants, and then I get my insides a bit squished. I can't move my rib cage as much. I'm breathing a little bit more excessively with my shoulders and my upper apical body. It's signaling to my brain a little bit that I'm in distress, but I don't really know that I am because like I'm just not aware because nothing's actually stressful, let's say. I know we all have like lots of actual stress in our lives, but let's say you're just having a great day, but you have this sort of limited breath thing going on. Your brain is kind of getting that like, my baseline isn't like here. My baseline is now here. And that's that like chronic stress stuff, right? Like that's that you've elevated your cortisol baseline. And now you're functioning at like let's say like 20% fight or flight or freeze. It's not enough to like alarm you, but it's enough to change your health. It's enough to make you feel maybe a little bit of mental fatigue, overwhelm, irritable. It's enough to make bowel movements harder because you're not relaxed down there, like physically and also mentally, because fight, flight, or freeze is not a time to go to the bathroom. It's a time to run away from the bear or hide and don't breathe, don't make sound. Is this making sense? I'm going on these weird tangents, but it's all just back to like primal basics of like why regulating our nervous system is so important and why like starting with breath and core is so important, right? Like I've got lots of people who ask me like, what meditation should I try? I really want to, I really want to try mindfulness, or I really want to learn meditation. And I'm like, that's really great. And we can find lots of cool free meditations on things like Insight Timer. I love that app, by the way. And there's a lot of good ones, the guided body scans and breath ones even, but I would recommend that you start with the breath ones because that is like, that's something that's tangible, right? It's on your own body and it's gonna give you that double bang for your buck. Not only are you mindful meditating, you're connecting to your own body. Does anyone have any questions so far? And if you don't, that's okay. You can think for a second, just process that info. What happens on the exhale? I love it. So exhale, if we're in a resting state, there's maybe like a 5 to 10% contraction, but it's not big. It would be like, actually, I love that you brought that up because I almost forgot. I have a diagram to show you guys. Can you guys see that? So I had a PhD student who, she's so cool. She's like doing, she graduated. I don't know if she's still, I think she's still in this line of work. But anyway, she did women's health research, but she loves drawing. And on the side, she did anatomy artwork, like as a side hustle. So I hired her to make me this. And it's just like a super simplified version of what I was describing to you guys. And it's the profile view. Okay, so you can see the lungs at the top here. As we inhale, air is coming in. This is that diaphragm we talked about, right? It goes from that parachute shape into sort of trampoline, if you will. Here's that core set muscle, only one side, right? Remember, it's 3D, left and right. And it actually inserts on this, but for drawing purposes, she wanted to show the spine. It doesn't insert there, okay? So it actually does insert here. And see how multifidi go from tailbone all the way to the base of your head. And it's not one strap. It's like Christmas tree like branches, okay? And here's the pelvic floor, but again, it's like a simple version. It's more expansive than just one sling. There's layers there, and the best way to connect, I've found with clients, is kind of separating front and back and then combining them. I like separating front and back first, just because it's like it's just like tangible. It's easy to know. Okay, like holding my pee, I know what that's like. holding my bowel movement. I know what that's like, right? But, they do work together. And when we inhale, see how the pelvic floor goes down and the belly expands, rib cages expand too. And then as we exhale, so that's what happens on the exhale, Timmy. That's what happens is that naturally, when you exhale, air is exiting your lungs. There's sort of this suction effect. Like as air is exiting your lungs, your diaphragm kind of domes back up, but not a ton. Like it's pretty subtle. And then as you exhale, your rib cages come down and in because now there's space for the rib cages to come down and in. And then your corset actually slims you, right? You feel a little slimmer on the exhale. And then the pelvic floor, because the organs now have space to go back to where they belong, right? The diaphragm is not pressing down on the organs anymore. They kind of return. And then there's a slight lift in the pelvic floor, but it's not 100. So it's not like lifting that dumbbell all the way. It's just like 5 to 10%, let's say. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. We're almost out of time for today. This is great. You guys ask really good questions, and I'm excited for tomorrow to like practice some more. But for now, do you guys have any questions? Like today was a really good sort of overview. I really wanted to unpack the anatomy, see where you're at, like where your mind is at. I love all the participation because it just makes teaching so much more fun. And I am like really passionate about this stuff. So if you think of a question between now and tomorrow, ask me social media or email because then I can bring it up tomorrow, right? This is for you guys. Feeling excited. I can practice it. Yes, I know, right? You can practice at work or anytime. And we will definitely do a little more practical tomorrow because today was really just to like make sure you guys understand why you're doing it and the foundation. And then tomorrow we can like put it more into practice. And this is why it's so neat is because we can do it without equipment. You can be doing it standing in line at a grocery store and nobody really knows. And it will make you feel really connected to your body. Does anybody feel disconnected to their body? Like, I know I hear this a lot in my practice. I don't know if some of you guys showed up feeling that way. Does anybody feel that way? Or you're just like looking for more info? The reason I say, just like type, yes, I feel disconnected or no, I'm good. Like, just let me know where you're at. I'm just saying it because it's something I hear a lot in my practice, whether it's virtual, online, or in my physio practice. And I think that sometimes as we enter our 30s and then into our 40s and beyond, we get really busy with career, partners, kids, work. As women, we tend to wear all these hats and we kind of like forget about ourselves a little bit. And then when we have time and we come to things like this, or a yoga retreat or something. I just ran a yoga retreat in Cantley, Quebec, near Ottawa in October. And the 10 women that came were just like, yeah, I feel like so disconnected and lost. And sometimes we're not even aware that we're disconnected and lost until we do something like try to connect to our breath. Yes, I feel disconnected for sure. Yeah, Heather, you're not alone. And I think there's like solidarity and like comfort in knowing that you're not alone. I think that part of it maybe is something that does happen. Maybe not to every 100% of women, but a lot of us it happens. And it's like, it's okay, right? Like sometimes we get into this mode of busy life and we're on survival mode. That's okay. Maybe you were in a phase of your life where that was what you needed to dig deep and get through. But if you're coming out here on the other side and you're ready to connect to yourself, this is the foundation. So I'm so happy you're here. Timmy says she feels connected. Awesome. But I always pictured inhaling up instead of down and squeezing. Yeah. So, Timmy, you're like kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, which I actually see a lot in runners, right? Like in a lot of runners, not every runner, but like you think you know your body really well. And I know that you do probably in a lot of parts, but there's always so much to learn and grow from, which is really fun. And like that was I'll just be like super vulnerable. A few years ago was kind of like that. I was like, no, I'm good. I know myself really well. Like, but that in itself was a limiting belief. And that limited my ceiling because I was like, no, I'm a physio and I did my yoga teacher training and I'm good. But then when I started investing in coaching and like more mentorship and reading tons of books, learning about breath work and like I already knew about the pelvic floor and inner core stuff, but then like just elevating it, I'm like, wow, it's really cool to like perform and connect to my body in ways I didn't know. Like I never thought I would run another marathon. I was like bucket list, check done, did it in my 20s. Now I'm in my 40s. Yes, I hurt myself the first time training, but now I ran another one better, stronger, and faster after rehabbing my injury and qualified for Boston. And I'm not saying this to show off. I'm just saying it to show you that don't be your own limiting belief, right? Like the world really is your oyster. Your body really can do cool things if you open your heart and open your mind. And starting with the foundation, like stuff that maybe you didn't know, like Timmy, right? You didn't know that the inhale was that way. This is maybe going to be a game changer for, I don't know, maybe your workouts, maybe your pace. I don't know, but this is really cool. It's like a new beginning. Samantha says, no, I feel connected, but always love learning and be reflective and mindful of foundational aspects of the body to maintain a strong body throughout my life and continue as I get older. I know Sammy quite well, and that is like so fitting. And I love that you are here because I know that you know a lot. You know, I had like mini imposter syndrome when I saw you register because I was like, oh gosh, like she is a professor and like she's in the medical field and she has all these, but do you see what I mean? Like it's so fun to like learn from each other and just grow and practice. And this is why I love yoga so much and this community. So thank you for being here. I hope I see you guys tomorrow. If for some reason you can't make it, just make sure you email me and I'll send you the replay. But yeah, so good. And thank you for not just being a Black name. It's so nice to see your faces. Practice a little bit, maybe like a couple times today, just like, what does my inhale feel like? What does my exhale behave like? And let me know tomorrow. And I'll see you tomorrow. Cool? Bye.